Route 66. In 1926, a national committee finally approved the United States highway system. And on that committee was a man by the name of Cyrus Avery. He's the guy who lobbied hard for a Chicago to Los Angeles highway and chose as its number the catchy name of Highway or Route 66. Nearly 100 years later, most of Route 66 has been decommissioned and mostly replaced by the interstate. But here in eastern Oklahoma, between Oklahoma City and Kansas, Route 66 survived. It became Oklahoma State Highway 66, and although an interstate did theoretically replace it, Cyrus Avery's dream highway survived, still drivable pretty much all the way from Oklahoma City to his hometown of Tulsa, which is where we're headed today. This is the path of old Route 66, and as we make our way eastbound along it, we're gonna see history, we're gonna see ruins and relics, but we're also gonna see rebirth and new attractions I've never seen before. But before any of that, would you look at the size of this pop bottle? Welcome to Pops, or Pops 66, one of the first massive attractions you see when leaving the Oklahoma City / Edmond area. If you're going eastbound like we are, it's pretty much your first sign that you're on old Route 66. Now this is one of those, historically speaking, new attractions on Route 66. Pops was built in 2007. It's only the same age as my son London. They have a gas station, they've got food in there, and most famously, a massive collection of all kinds of weird flavors of soda pop, maybe the biggest selection on Route 66. Word to the wise, don't try the ranch dressing flavor. Blah. Not only do they have that amazing sort of throwback to mid-century architecture, kind of cantilevered roof over there, but of course Pops also has this, a giant 66-foot tall Route 66 soda pop bottle, which lights up in all kinds of crazy colors at night. Has truly become an icon of the old Mother Road, even though it's built in just 2007. But for those travelers for whom Pops is a little too modern, you don't have far to go, because just beyond it, almost within sight, is the little town of Arcadia, Oklahoma, and there is plenty of old school stuff to be seen. This is maybe the most famous structure on this section of Route 66, the Arcadia Round Barn, built in 1898, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a round barn. But downstairs is a little bit of a museum and a cool gift shop with weird knickknacks. It's a pretty cool stop, one that I've spent quite a bit of time exploring in detail before, but what most people miss behind the Arcadia Round Barn is what survives of the town of Arcadia after a series of devastating fires and the ravages of time, including this amazing old building just behind the Round Barn, the Richardson Building. It's been here since 1923. This even predates Route 66 by 3 years. Even since I've been traveling the route, it's held a number of businesses, Glass Boy Studios, looks like they had a little farmer's market here. I think the building might be back on the market again though, I'm not sure. And then just a few feet beyond it down Main Street is this old 1917 bank that later became a drugstore, a grocery store, and a soda fountain along Route 66. This was Tootin's or Tutton's drugstore. It was only actually a soda fountain and drugstore up until the eve of World War II when it closed. Gosh, look at this screen door right here. That is not a standard size, okay? You cannot pick that up at Home Depot. And it reopened in 1945 just after World War II and served as the grocery store in Arcadia till the 70s. So what a crazy relic of the past. I mean, Arcadia is a pretty impressive place. Look at this, there's an old-timey Texaco station just a few feet in front of the Round Barn. There's an ancient picture of it in the Round Barn Museum. Most people just breeze right on past this. Now, these are classic relics that actually predate Route 66. They're relics of the early days of the road. Some portions of that early road, by the way, we're gonna see today. And they're pretty well documented and pretty well covered in Route 66 books, but there's some more modern stuff here, like the more recent but now closed Biker Shack and its neighbors, the other shacks, the Pizza Shack that's been around for quite a long time. I'm talking about the building, not the actual pizza business. Dude, that smells so good, that freaking pizza, guys. Holy crap. Both of which are sort of sitting right in front of this old Western town, this old abandoned Western attraction, which I've really never seen any information about. It's obviously from the 60s or 70s, who knows? And I only assume it's that late because all the Route 66 books that kind of cover the earliest stuff, the hardest, sort of gloss over this. So there's not that much information about this. If you know about this, Let me know. A lot of places that the first generation of books tended to skip because they were more modern then are now themselves becoming faded pieces of Route 66 history. By the way, that pizza smells really good. And the friendliest dog of all time is sitting back here for you to pet. Look at this. Hi, puppy. Good thing she's tied up or I'd have a friend for life. So the pizza shack right there is proof that there's still life in some of the old buildings on the Mother Road, but there's also crazy new stuff popping up on the route. Look at this, just past the biker shack and the pizza shack is the new chicken shack. They are ready for the crowds coming for the centennial celebration of Route 66. They've got a takeout area. You can get beer, chicken. The inside of it is all awesome and themed. This stretch of the old road might be one of the best on Route 66 because unlike in the west where everything's sort of fading and crumbling, or the east where things just get a little bit more modern and urbanized, here you have just the right mix of modern life. Check out this Oklahoma mailbox right there. I love that. Old road, old Route 66, and old ruins and historical relics, both fading away and reoccupied. Now, this is something somewhat hard to find, but as soon as you leave Arcadia and you come around this bend, blink and you'll miss it, but there's this little spot where you can make a right turn down original Route 66, a little paved piece of the 1926 route that was a little too right-angly and was replaced by the 1930s curve that most people travel down without ever knowing this little detour is here. See that big road? That's the main Route 66. It's still old Route 66, and you gotta kind of take this crazy little jag in the road, as you hopefully saw from the air, to get there. Dude, but it's just one quick turn and you're there. You're driving down original 1926 Route 66, one of the earliest paved portions of the road. And you could see just how windy and hilly and narrow the original part was. That's why it was replaced out there with a much wider section with a much broader turn. Oh, I forgot about this. There's a little old Route 66 gas station themed Airbnb. You got really friendly locals on this road like Jim Ross and Larry Smiley. And look at this. This road is even on the National Register of Historic Places. That's how iconic and beautiful and historic this section is. You can see those original curb linings there. Even though the center's been resurfaced, you can see some original concrete paving. There's something magical about driving down a 100-year-old portion of one of the earliest paved cross-country highways in America. And there's so many stories here. And you might not expect to find something like this on a little dinky road on the side of an old highway in Oklahoma, but check it out. There's now even a sign documenting Paul McCartney's visit to this little road on August 5th, 2008. He was taking his 66th birthday trip down Route 66, and he stopped and talked to a local resident, Toby Thompson, and goes, "Is this really the original Route 66? And now there's a sign documenting it. That's pretty neat. Told you, that's why I love this section of Route 66 so much between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. There's just so many stories, historic ones, modern ones, new ones being made every day. And look at this, if you come down the old alignment to the east end of it, not only will you find the original pavement. See how the asphalt ends? This is the original concrete road surface of Route 66 right here. But just at the line where that appears, or the asphalt and what's it called, meet, look over here next to this driveway. Check out this original road marker right here. Look at this, even has the date this section was actually paved, 1928. What these are federal aid program markers, and these would mark where the federal funds would help to build the original Route 66 and pave the road. To find an original marker along the highway, that is something special. Now notice it said 1928 for this section. It actually says 1929 for the other. Keep in mind, when the National Committee approved the U.S. highway system, it still took years to get together the funding and the resources to actually pave these roads. And that was often done in sections in different years, and that's why the alignment changes so much. So this is old Route 66, and that section we were driving on earlier is old Route 66. It would often change paths through different cities multiple times, so sometimes you can have 4 or 5 different old Route 66s within a mile or two of each other. This beautiful tree-lined piece is one of the originals. Oh my gosh, dude, look at that. It's like something out of a movie, London. Something out of a movie. crazy. We're here at an interesting time because they're actually doing construction to widen all the shoulders in anticipation of the 100th anniversary of the road. And here's a perfect example of the new construction, just a little ways east of that road we were on. Look at this new pullout right here. All the times I've been here before, you had to pull out on the grass, but they're really trying to make this section of Route 66 traveler friendly for the upcoming 100th without destroying any of the old sites along the road. Look at this, the old Rock of Ages Conoco. There's a great picture of this place back in the day in Joe Sonderman and Jim Ross's indispensable Oklahoma Route 66 Images of America book. Dude, and there's a lot of old school lore and legend around this old Conoco station. It was built apparently in the 10s and teens, so way before Route 66. This is one of the earliest filling stations in this part of Oklahoma, and the local lore, the early Route 66 book legend. Oh, I'm surprised you can actually still read right here on this weird piece of paper is that to make extra money here, the guys that ran the Conoco station got into counterfeiting with printing plates in the back of this place, and they got busted, and that's why the Conoco was shut down in around 1930 or so. This is the kind of place that had no electricity, so you had to have special gas pumps, no refrigeration, so you could only sell cold drinks at certain times of the year, obviously. Apparently you couldn't sell the hard candy when it was too hot. You couldn't sell the soda when the Iceman didn't come because it was all an ice chest. Now, one of the local farmers that owns the place like right next door, who's a very elderly guy, told me that he doesn't think the counterfeiting story has any weight to it all. It's just somehow become an urban legend. I mean, the place isn't all that big, so imagining a counterfeiting operation happening back here, you know, where? Wouldn't the random customers dropping in catch you at it? I mean, it doesn't sound super realistic when you really start to pick it apart, but hey, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. You know, when the legend is more interesting than the facts, print the legend. Oh man, it is hot in Oklahoma in the summertime, that's for sure. Ooh, feels nice to get in the air conditioning in the car. All right, if you're going west to east like we are, you will pass the beautiful little town of Luther, Oklahoma. But I'm rolling right on through today because I don't want to see anything in Luther. It's what's just outside of Luther to the east that I find really fascinating and always have. We're back at the Threet filling station. This place has always been fascinating to me because it's one of those early, incredible Route 66 gas stations, or filling stations as they would have called them back then, that had a cafe, it had groceries. It was a family-owned one-stop shop for all your traveling needs, but it's kind of unlike any other old Conoco or Phillips 66 we've seen out here, because Alan Threet Sr., who opened this place in 1933, along with his wife Alberta, were African Americans. That's right, this was a black-owned business along Route 66 in the 1930s, when almost every other town around here was a sundown town, which meant that African Americans and other minorities were literally not allowed in those towns after sundown. It was incredibly difficult to travel across the country if you were a minority back in those times. This is still during the Jim Crow era. This was a big deal to travelers of all kinds of colors that Alan and Alberta Threet opened up a place here that was a safe haven, a literal port in the storm of Jim Crow for travelers of all creeds and colors to stop at and enjoy. They were fully stocked up here. They had your groceries. Alan Threet put one of the earliest old black and white televisions in there so people would gather and watch TV. Obviously, it was a gas station back when the average tank could go, you know, maybe 70 miles or so you needed a lot more places to stop. And this is the best part of all. The Threet filling station is still owned by the Threet family today. If you go online and search for it, you'll find all kinds of interviews with Alan Threet III, the Reverend Alan Threet III. There are multiple branches of the Threet family involved, and the last time I was here, even in 2019, this place did not look as pristine as it looks now. Apparently that's the year that the restorations began in earnest, and their goal is to get this place reopened again as a piece of, you know, history, a living piece of history, and also as an attraction for Route 66 travelers by that centennial celebration. Dude, and it looks like they are pretty darn close to accomplishing their goal. It's multiple branches of the Threet family, because Alan's brothers and sisters were involved back in the day in multiple business, including that blue one next door. We'll get to that in just a second. So now you've got generations of siblings and cousins and uncles and aunts and nephews all involved in the restoration of this property here that the family still owns and vows to never get rid of. Alan Threet came out here in a very early land rush and managed to acquire something like 160 acres. And apparently the family is still holding on to 150 of those acres. So the Threet family has been wise, they have been smart, and they have not let their property go. And there are so many amazing stories about this place. I've been trying to get a hold of them and meet them for years. It's never happened for me, but so much information got out there during the pandemic when they were working on the restoration. For one thing, this wasn't just a gas station, or as one of the Threets says now, you know, the old-timey 7-Eleven, your one-stop shop for all the different products you needed. And by the way, back then a 7-Eleven would have been amazing, right? This was also an extremely important gathering place, and because the Threet farm was behind it, this was almost known as Threet Park in a way. People of every nationality, but especially African Americans back then, knew this was a safe place to come, a place that celebrated all the major holidays, Easter egg hunts, 4th of July picnics. So not only did you have your packaged food, your little store in there, and a little seating area to eat inside of the Threet filling station itself, but next door over here, they opened up another place originally called the Brown Bomber Restaurant, named after Joe Louis, the boxer. So you had a restaurant that black families could come to and drink and relax and enjoy themselves, and it was sort of a club after hours and on the weekends. So you have music here. One has to imagine maybe there was even live music. We're talking about the 1930s here. We're talking about the 1930s and 40s and 50s. This is not long after Black Wall Street was blown up and burned down in nearby Tulsa. This was a crazy, dangerous time. I love any story of Route 66 survival, any old family business, or even building, thinking about people coming out on the old Mother Road and starting a new enterprise and being excited that any remnant of it survives. But this story is special. There was real physical danger involved for the travelers that came here. This was truly a godsend for those travelers. And look at this, the Brown Bomber Restaurant is still here. I'm not sure the last time it was open, but it still says 21 and up to enter on the door, and that sticker doesn't look that old. And the original Threet filling station is there. And check this out, all the stonework and the mortar has been redone. I know it's been on the National and State Historic Registers for a long time, so they were able to get grants and cooperation from different preservation groups. And this giraffe-like pattern of sandstone, wherever they had to replace stone, originally it was getting replaced with sort of modern stuff you could just buy, and it didn't have the right look. So they actually, from what I understand, went and found the old Threet family home and took some sandstone from that to reincorporate back into this, so it would have the right age, the right look, and be historically, you know, authentic. After Alan and Alberta Threet's time here, I think some other relatives added on rooms to the back and actually had their residence in here. I know that somewhere behind it there used to be a baseball field where they would have Negro League games back here. So this is where everybody would gather to see those baseball games. This was a big deal. And right behind the filling station, right here, at a time when most hotels in towns would not serve African Americans, and most of the new motels wouldn't either. There were still segregation laws in effect and all that. Alan Threet always let people stay back here for no charge, in their car if they needed to, or their RV. He could have done what most Route 66 businessmen did and say, hey, I'm gonna give you a small charge, you can use this as a campground. They didn't charge anybody anything. And so this was literally a safe haven for people who were like, oh my gosh, we're out after dark, the sundown towns, we need somewhere to stay, let's park the car here, we'll be safe here. So clearly the restoration continues. Most of the windows are papered up in the front original sections of the building, but I did manage to stick the camera up against the glass yesterday because some of the paper fell down, and get some sneaky preview pictures of the restoration in there. Sorry, Threet family, I had to look, I couldn't help myself. Hey, I risked my life putting the camera past one of the biggest freaking black widows I've ever seen, and I live in California. But it was worth it because I've always been fascinated by the history of this place. When I first filmed this, I think in 2016 or 17 on one of our Route 66 playlists. And by the way, you can find tons of Route 66 adventures on this channel. There's a big Route 66 playlist and one that's just Chicago to LA and back that goes all in order. Lots of stuff here. When I first came here, there wasn't even a murmur yet of the restoration or any plans, and nobody was thinking about the 100th yet. And I remember thinking, dude, I would love to film a documentary. I had no idea how to contact anyone or get a hold of the family in any way at that time. So I am beyond stoked that the family really are the ones who decided, you know what? It's time to get this place back in gear. We got to preserve this place for future generations. The 100th anniversary of Route 66 is coming up. Not only is it a way of continuing their grandfather and great-grandfather Alan Threet's legacy and their grandmother Alberta Threet, and really honestly the whole Threet family's legacy, but it's also going to be a great way to educate people. And this really stands as a monument to all those travelers who were not necessarily of the majority population out here. You know, seriously, Native American travelers, Asian travelers, Hispanic travelers, and obviously African American travelers who did not always find the welcome that they should have along the main street of America back in the day. Now, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube and you want to learn more, in the description I'm going to put a link to some more information about the Threet family and the Threet filling station. It's fantastic. And if you want to learn more about sort of the African American early roadside experience, I encourage you to look up stuff about the Negro Motorist Green Book. There was an actual book that they had so they knew which places were safe in each and every town. That's a whole fascinating story. It's a totally underrepresented piece of history. I mean, we all can appreciate the nostalgia for the pioneers and the westward expansion and people trying to fulfill their dreams out here. But along with that came some dark pieces of history in terms of dangers and displacement and all kinds of other things that are often forgotten. And sometimes there's some pushback on that now. Things are a little bit more balanced, that portrayal. But let's not forget there are other pieces of nostalgia to remember as well, like the Threet family that had been serving people out here for generations along the side of Route 66. Alan Threet III, he is a minister out here, so he's still trying to serve the community and serve people. And now not only are they preserving their own family's legacy, but they're serving all of us by letting these restoration projects go ahead. I think they want to try to open an RV park up here, so that's a really cool full circle thing. And they're going to let the Threet filling station last for more generations so that all of us can learn about a piece of forgotten American history largely that deserves our attention, which is why we stopped here for so long. But now I'm back in the car. I'm gonna get out of the sun here and keep on cruising down old Route 66. But you know what? It's not very far down the highway that you have to keep your eagle eyes open, because there's another very interesting thing happening just ahead of the Threet filling station. This is the main path of old Route 66 going off to the right. But as you can see, off to the left is a little ribbon of road, and that's a very special part of old Route 66. That road to the left is the original path of Route 66 that traveled to the town of Wellston, and to the right, that was the bigger path of Route 66 that cut it off. But the thing is the citizens of Wellston fought like crazy to keep their town on Route 66 somehow, to keep that funding open, to keep that road open. And they managed to do something special that, as far as I know, hasn't happened really anywhere else on the route. They created Route 66B, and today it's still Oklahoma 66B. We're traveling down that now. I normally take the Wellston cutoff, which is the big wider area that just skips over Wellston. But look at this road. It's like something out of a Disney matte painting from the 1960s. It's idyllic, it's gorgeous out here. And the town is just full on Main Street, USA. Just look at this place. Today, it looks absolutely beautiful. Look at Cecil's gas station right over there. Now, Wellston actually predates Route 66. It's been here since the 1890s, and there was an even earlier connecting road built between Wellston and the next town we're going to, the next major town, called the Ozark Trail. Before the U.S. highway system, you had a series of trails: the Yellowstone Trail, the Lincoln Highway, all these named trails that had different colors to mark their path, sometimes different signage. The thing about Route 66 that's so important is it's part of that U.S. highway system where they wanted to clean up that system, create a numbering system, a universal system. Route 66 just had the best local promoters and boosters and got all the towns along the way involved. And I love that Wellston saved itself by insisting that their road was still going to be called Route 66. Route 66B, check this out. This was the original fire station, actually. And I know that because Andrew Stephenson, who owns this Stephenson Insurance Agency building right here, and whose father owns this one next door, Cecil's, was just stopping by, saw me taking pictures, and gave me just a little taste of the local history. I said, man, thank you guys for holding on to these buildings and preserving at least a little something to see here, Route 66 wise. through town. Because as you can see, there's not much here that's open anyways for the Route 66 traveler to see. But these buildings are incredible, man. It's too bad some artists and weirdos don't move out here and just do something with this. There are so many possibilities right here. You've got an American postcard-ready Main Street. That could be anything. It could become anything. There's so much potential out here. And Wellston's interesting, and because it's way less well documented than any other part of this road, I feel like there's a lot for potential historians to uncover. So you hear that, you Route 66 enthusiasts? Wellston, great properties available right on the old Mother Road. Route 66B, a quirky, special little part of the history. Lots of mysteries to solve. All right, we've got to keep going. Both of us are getting a little overheated. Cameras are getting overheated. We got those triple-digit Oklahoma temperatures, but there's more to see in Wellston, and on my next trip, I plan on spending a little more time right here. Ooh, this part of Route 66 is dense. Okay, we're going under the freeway now here. And this is one part of why this section of Route 66 survived and so much stuff on it survived, is because this portion of Interstate I-44 is actually a toll road. And so that's the reason that so many people use this stretch of old Route 66 between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They figure, I'm not paying $4 or whatever it is. I'll just take the old highway. And so Route 66 has survived. That's why it's packed with all these attractions. You see the Merrimack Cavern Barn or Seba Station, which has this rad little motorcycle museum inside of it. And we've seen these stuff before in past Random Land series on Route 66. But it's always worth seeing again. All right, we came down a really nice straightaway, and now we're at our next destination where Route 66 makes a hard right angle turn into the town of Chandler, Oklahoma. And I am stoked to see some of my old favorites again. This old ruin of a gas station that somebody has maintained for years. They bricked in this old Sinclair gasoline pump. It's had all these old, cool, some of them hand-painted advertisements on the front of it too. But in all my time exploring Route 66, I've never known who owned it or what it was supposed to be other than just a cool old gas station with stuff stuck on the outside, which is actually part of the fun of Route 66, seeing stuff like that. But check this out, across the street, there's always also been another old wrecked gas station that I now see is open. Look at this. Destination Good Eatin' Drinks on Route 66. Dude, and I gotta tell you, it must be quite the destination because it smells freaking good from all the way out here. Now, Chandler is awesome. It's a pretty substantially sized town. There are tons of old brick buildings, some sort of falling down, others that I can see all this new revival in. Looking around town, you can find everything from old fire hydrants to new little small town department stores. I love Chandler because it's a weird mix of like urban looking buildings and then little small town looking houses. And look at this over here. This old gas station has become the Gypsy Corner Boutique. So you got a little boho action going on. If you're going west from east, then the first thing you actually encounter is the old downtown here, which as you've seen has enough buildings that obviously Chandler was once a really booming place. But here's the amazing thing is that in 2024, it's a booming place again. Look at this, you got the Boomerang Diner, that's open for business. You got all kinds of buildings being restored. Look at this Manville Avenue Hipster Coffee Company. Little coffee place opened up. For years I'd come through here and everything in this section of town would be closed. And I'm like, man, what a wasted opportunity. So beautiful. They got everything from 50s buildings to turn of the last century buildings. But now I see all these little mom and pop businesses opening up. They got this beautiful local history museum right here. And there was this tiny little sign that said historic homes this way. So I walked down a block or two and what do I find but this whole like movie set looking neighborhood full of historic homes and old churches. Dude, there's freaking apple trees growing right here. This is the problem, is that all these little towns could each have their own episode of a Route 66 series. Most Route 66 travelers are lucky if they even have time to come down the old road through Chandler and see its most famous attraction, this old Phillips 66 station, which is amazing. Look at this old Tudor building over here. Can't get enough of stuff like this on old Route 66, especially when it's been restored, well, or at least preserved. This place was originally built in 1930. It's been a Phillips 66, a Skelly, a Getty, and a Texaco station. It's one of those things where it could have fallen apart, but a local resident named Bill Furneaux, a businessman, purchased it and has been slowly restoring it to its former glory. There were some 1950s garages here, like service garages that were torn down to get it back in its original condition. This is the place where even on the longest Route 66 trips, you might only have a few minutes to stop somewhere like this. And I try hard not to bug you guys with this, but this is where I make that Patreon pitch, because without Patreon, I could not do stuff like this and stop at places like this, even for the briefest of moments. So definitely check out all those links down below. I got my new book for sale and things like that. But anyways, this is a story of something old that has been preserved by a local resident, and the city actually preserved something amazing, because just up the road, we get to a sharp right turn, and then we get to the newer portion of Chandler, and we see this incredible 1936 WPA built National Guard Armory that's now a Route 66 museum and visitor center for Chandler. This was pretty much a brand new thing the last time I was here visiting. Another great story of local communities investing in their sort of Route 66 tourist infrastructure. Dude, and a great place between you and me to use the restroom. Oh, and the AC feels so good. Lots of interactive exhibits. There's a huge hall in the back, a really nice gift shop. Dude, for a kid from an increasingly urbanized Southern California, following this path of Route 66 just through this town is an adventure. You got the community pool with all the teens hanging out for the summer. But it's great that they actually have a visitor center here now, because Chandler, Oklahoma is home to one resident who literally wrote the book on Route 66. This is Jerry McClanahan's gallery over here. And if you don't know who that is, Jerry is the guy that wrote The Easy Guide to Route 66, the best possible map book for sort of navigating the bits and pieces of the old road. I talked to Jerry on Facebook before. He sent me a really nice message actually one time. I wish he was here today. He's one of the earliest guys going down Route 66 before it was even fully decommissioned, taking photos of all the old historic locations. And like I said, writing the book that makes it so much easier for travelers like us to find the old mother road. Anyway, it makes sense that the town on this old historic stretch that has the guy that wrote the book would also have the newest, biggest, baddest, best attraction that I've seen open up since the last time I was here. It's just down the road, past some more, of course, epic stops and old motels and cool classic Route 66 things. But when you see this massive sign, this Route 66 bowl sign, hang a left into this parking lot. Dude, this is gonna blow your minds. Dude, look at all of these epic old gas station signs in the parking lot. The whole parking lot. There are so many old gas station signs in here that when I first saw this off the highway yesterday, I was like, wait a minute, did they open a neon sign museum or something? Because the restored 66 Bowl sign you see right here used to be located at 66 Bowl in Oklahoma City. It was a famous landmark. And so moron that I am, I didn't realize this is also the sign for the new business here. Because the sign was here the last time I came through, but it was just this sign. Whatever the heck was back there was under construction. And what is it? A movie theater? You know what? This is the new Route 66 Bowl. It was opened by a collector, a sign collector, and a local businessman named Sid Hayes. And it opened like sort of during the pandemic. So I think late 2020 or early 2021. And just the sign collection on the outside of the building would have impressed me and blown my mind, because these are real signs, not replicas. There's so much out here that I was expecting the inside must look a little more plain, but I popped in and I could have never expected this. This place is insane. There is a bowling alley in here, but there's so much more. There's laser tag. There's a huge diner in the front. There's a massive bar in the back with an entrance lined with gas pumps. There's a huge epic arcade, a snack counter, an ice cream bar, and more old school real Route 66 signs than I've ever seen anywhere. Dude, this place is insane. I don't know what I was expecting, but not all of this. I had to ask. I didn't hear any ballyhoo about the opening of this, and I assume that must be because of when it opened. It opened during the pandemic, so it didn't get as much attention from tourists as it normally would. When we passed through town briefly yesterday, I immediately ran in here, ran up to the counter and asked the employees, like, what the heck is this? And I was told this was all the private collection of one guy, Sid Hayes, which explained a lot, because I was thinking, dude, there's no way this business is only 3 or 4 years old and made enough money to purchase literally this multi-million-dollar sign collection collection. And the more you look, the more you realize it's not just signs. It's Petroleana, it's oil cans, it's gas pumps, it's everything. Dude, there's more neon signs in here than some neon sign museums I've been to. And this must be the sickest thing that ever happened for decades if you grew up in this town. This is like Chandler, Oklahoma's Disneyland. Dude, the American pickers would lose their freaking minds in here. Actually, for all I know, maybe the guy bought all the signs from the American pickers. Forget Chandler's Disneyland. This is like a Disneyland for me or any Route 66 or roadside enthusiast. Some guy took his ultimate man cave collection, turned it into the most insane local sports park or local attraction I have ever seen in my entire life. Dude, this collection is dense. So many signs. I just want to take a picture of every single thing in here, but it's not just old gas and Petroleana stuff. Look at this neon sign up on the wall. That's from the movie Twister. Dude, the freaking It'll Do Motel neon sign, that's incredible. And you know what? They even lit it up for us. It only worked for a second, but I snapped a fun pic. Dude, they've got a spot for live music in here. There's snow cones, there's cornhole. I was just told that the food from every part of this place is really, really good. Dude, and look at this. Every nook and cranny and weird backstage areas full of signs. Just when I thought I saw everything, I saw that staircase. Dude, then I come up here and there's even more signs on this kind of VIP grown-up eating area up here. In the bar half of the building, in the grown-up section. And look at this. I was wondering what this weird catwalk was from down there. It's its own bowling lane in the sky. Dude, holy rusted metal Batman. This is insane. London's in the diner in the front getting some grub, and I feel like I just need to sit down and try to wrap my brain around all this. Because Oklahoma City and Tulsa are really not that far apart, I've always tried to do this section in 1 or 2 days, but now I can totally see, especially if you're coming through with kids, you've got to make an extra stop, carve out an extra day for Chandler, Oklahoma, not just because of all the amazing stuff outside that we saw, the historic stuff, but this is the ultimate Route 66 playground. I have never seen so many rare petroleum signs in one place. But along with all the, there's seed signs, there's cola signs, local history signs. I love people like this so much. They made their money, they got their collection, which is cool. Because even if it's in private hands, I mean, at least all this stuff is preserved and protected for future generations. This is what makes the dude my hero, is because to go the extra mile, to take your whole ultimate man cave collection and then put it in a new business that brings life to the town, life to Route 66, gives kids somewhere positive and constructive to go and play and do, all while surrounding them with pieces of roadside history when they're growing up in a roadside historic town. It's the type of thing I dream of accomplishing if I ever had money. Imagine the childhood and family memories that are being made in this place by locals and tourists once they discover this. This is the kind of place that if it ever disappears, you'd go, did I dream that? Was that even real? Guys, I've traveled all over America in 49 states. I've driven all of Route 66 multiple times. I've never seen anything like this. If you're anywhere near here, it is worth coming inside just for the signs. I'm telling you, this is world class in terms of a sign collection. There are more epic signs in here than I've seen in a lot of local history museums, even some national museums. And then you mix in the blacklight mini golf and the laser tag and the bowling and this huge old school arcade. They got Mrs. Pac-Man, they got Space Invaders, they got Temple Run. There's something for everyone. All they're missing is Cruisin' USA. Where's Cruisin' USA? Dude, holy cow. It's modern, it's retro, it's like a museum, it's entertaining, it's like a little bit of a theme park, and it's right off old Route 66. Seriously, yeah, I ate at the diner. How was the food? Good. Really? Like actually good, or like you're just saying that for the camera?
No, it's really good.
See, there you go, because I'm trying to tell people, like, this place is incredible. I'm bummed. I asked if the owner was around. They said no. I missed Jerry McClanahan. I feel like we didn't meet a lot of people today, but we have certainly seen a lot of epic freaking stuff. Holy cow, man. If this was just an arcade, it would be the coolest arcade I've ever been into. It's not just how hot it is outside and the dehydration. My head hurts. This is so cool. Every time I think I spot a replica sign, I look close and it's real porcelain or real metal. So I don't know, there may be replica signs in here, but from what I can tell, the vast majority of this stuff is not fake. It is not mere decor. It is real. Dude, you guys, that is the most insane thing ever. That is just one place in one town. There's over 100,000 cities and towns in America. I just pulled that statistic out of my hat, but I believe it's true, if not more. I love being out here documenting the history and the exciting new things on the Mother Road so much. I love sharing these stories. I love learning these stories. I love meeting people and distilling the information down. But it also breaks my heart a lot because I fall in love with so many places across this great country. I make so many friends. I meet so many amazing people. I hear so many amazing stories, and I see people making history in small towns and along the old Mother Road, and I wish I could stay in each place and be a part of it. You know, I leave a little piece of myself behind everywhere I go when I travel. But then the amazing thing is you sort of pick up a little piece of each place you visit as you travel as well. So yes, it's heartbreaking, but in another way, it's also inspiring, because it begins to change you. You know, every story, every town, every place, every summer breeze, every hot day, every rainy day. Traveling will take away your prejudices. It will change the way that you think about yourself, about land, about America, about history. You just have to keep your eyes open, be willing to get off the interstate, willing to go somewhere else besides Walmart or the Holiday Inn. Not that there's anything wrong with those places, and absorb a little bit of America's highways, byways, and back roads. Which of course have now led us into the little Oklahoma town of Stroud. And this is where I have to leave you guys. I've made a horrible realization on this trip down Route 66, and that is I'm gonna have to come right back as soon as I possibly can, because I'm trying to do the whole father-son trip before he starts his senior year of high school. London, I'm talking about, of course, my son. But I am seeing so much life and so much renewal, especially in the Oklahoma portions of Route 66 so far, that there's so much to cover. I can't possibly squeeze it in to these couple of weeks we have on this particular trip, and Stroud is no exception. This is a place that's very proud of its history, but I see so many new businesses popping up. I see so much is cleaned up here. This isn't to put any other place on the route down, but I have seen more effort in these tiny towns in Oklahoma and across Oklahoma generally to recover, restore, and revive these little sections of Route 66 than I have on the entire rest of the route west of here. I see new museums and visitor centers and community projects. And I'm not just talking about the big money projects. I'm talking about like homespun things that are just hometown pride, cleaning things up, repainting things. I see a lot of local businessmen building new things, and a lot of local governments, city and county, putting in improvements, getting ready for that big celebration. So I guess that means a lot is changing, and there's just gonna be a lot more to see happen on Route 66 over the next year and a half. Now, I'm the king of telling people that even if you don't have a lot of time, just do what you can. Route 66 isn't a checklist. Route 66 isn't even a road. It's an excuse to get out there and see things and do whatever you can, you know? And I have to say that all the time because I have to remind myself, I'm rolling through Route 66, I want to stop at everything. I want to see everything. I want to do everything. I go, look how much I'm missing. Because even though, you know, like everybody else, I can get hot, I can get tired, I can get bored, I can get thirsty, I want to get home, you know, sometimes. There's something so magic, so special, so life-changing about being out on the road. Like I say, it almost hurts to leave every single place. There's so many stories to tell. But then again, as much as it hurts to leave a place, and as much as I feel like I'm missing something or leaving a piece of myself behind, then I think of the next place. And I can't wait to get down the road and see what's around the next corner. If you don't know who I am, my name is Justin Scott. I've been doing these videos for 11 years now. On Random Land, we try to look at the bright side of life. We don't do sex, we don't do politics, we don't do religion on this channel. We try to keep things family friendly. We focus on history, we focus on fun, and every single video, every single adventure is fan supported. I cannot even tell you, and I don't want to remember how much money we've turned down over the years and people trying to do sponsorships or ads on the thing and we don't want to do. I don't join media lists that make us or even imply that we have to do positive reviews of things. I don't shill for anybody, and different strokes for different folks. But the reason we've always been a fan-funded channel is because that way I don't have to chase clickbait. I don't have to tell you about murder on 66 or whatever. We can do stuff that's genuine from the heart. And so if you're coming across these adventures, ideally, we'd love to have you join our Patreon and support the show. But just by watching this and sharing this with a friend, somebody you think would actually like it, any of these videos, you do a lot to help us document different parts of the country, different attractions, different places to take the family, and more important, little pieces of history and little stories from the American roadside. And I really appreciate that very much in all of you. I also wrote a new book. There's, you know, links to our online store. You can get a sick hat. The R stands for adventure. and it's a kindred spirit thing if you want to join the Kindred Spirits Club, what they have. We've got t-shirts, we've got all that kind of stuff. But mostly, I just want to thank you guys for watching. It means the world. Thank you for sharing it with a friend, and I'll see you guys a little further on down the road. You've done your duty. Go home and sleep well. For one thing, this wasn't oh, there's a little bit of a curb there, yikes. Hey London, do you want this?
No.
Why not?
Why do I need a stick?
It's Route 60 stick. It's a Route 60 stick. Hey, 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 hey. Hey.